If you have ever stood in a used car lot and watched buyers walk past the same 5 vehicles again and again, ignoring them completely while chasing something flashier, something newer, something that photographs better for social media, then you already understand the strange psychology this video is going to expose. Somewhere between the marketing departments of Detroit and Tokyo and the parking lots of America, a handful of cars were engineered not to impress anyone, but simply to never stop running. Nobody wanted them when they were new, and almost nobody wants them now, which is exactly why they sit on dealer lots for a fraction of their real mechanical value. What you are about to see is not a list of opinions. It is a list built on documented reliability data, fleet records, taxi and police department logs, and the kind of engineering decisions that companies made decades ago and never bothered to advertise. 5 cars. All cheap. All ignored. All capable of outliving the people who refuse to buy them. If you have ever wondered why some machines simply will not die while others fall apart after 5 years, stay with this story, because the answer is not luck. It is design, and it starts with a car that spent 20 years hauling New York City through its worst days. Before we go further, if stories about the machine's history quietly overlooks are the kind of thing that keeps you watching until the very end, take a second right now and subscribe to the channel, because there is a lot more of this coming. Hit the like button too. It genuinely helps this video reach more people who need to hear it, and if you know someone who is car shopping right now and about to overspend on something unreliable, send this to them before they sign the paperwork. The first car on this list is the Ford Crown Victoria, specifically the Panther platform generation that ran from 1992 through 2011, and if you were a New Yorker, a Chicagoan, or almost anyone living in a major American city during those 2 decades, you rode in one without even realizing it, because this was the car that became the backbone of the American taxi and police fleet system. The Crown Victoria used a body-on-frame construction borrowed from truck engineering rather than the unibody design most passenger cars had already switched to, and that single decision is why so many of these cars are still alive today. Body-on-frame vehicles absorb stress differently, they flex less under the kind of daily abuse a taxi endures, and they are dramatically cheaper and simpler to repair when something does break. Ford paired that frame with a 4.6-liter modular V8 engine, a motor that was deliberately understressed for its size, meaning it rarely had to work near its mechanical limits even under constant stop-and-go city driving. Fleet operators recorded these engines routinely surpassing 300,000 miles with nothing more than standard maintenance, and it was not unusual for taxi versions to reach 400,000 miles before retirement, not because the engine failed, but because the rest of the vehicle had simply been driven into the ground around it. Today you can find a Crown Victoria for well under $5,000, sometimes closer to $2,000, and the reason nobody wants it is almost embarrassingly simple. It looks like a government vehicle, because for most of its life, it was one. That image problem is precisely why the second car on this list gets ignored too, but for a very different reason involving luxury rather than law enforcement. The 1990 to 1994 Lexus LS400 was Toyota's opening statement to the American luxury market, and the company built it with an obsession for reliability that almost nothing else in automotive history has matched. Before releasing the LS400, Toyota engineers reportedly built and destroyed dozens of prototype engines in extreme durability testing, running them at high speed for hundreds of continuous hours to identify any weakness before a single customer ever touched the car. The result was a 1UZ FE V8 engine so overbuilt that mechanics still refer to it today as nearly indestructible when properly maintained, with documented examples exceeding 400,000 and even 500,000 miles on their original engines. J.D. Power's initial quality study repeatedly ranked the LS400 among the most reliable vehicles sold in the United States during the early 1990s, a remarkable achievement for a brand nobody in America had even heard of a year earlier. And yet today, a first-generation LS400 with high mileage sells for a few $1,000s, sometimes less than a used economy car, because buyers see an old luxury sedan and assume expensive repairs, when in reality they are looking at one of the most mechanically bulletproof vehicles ever exported from Japan. The third car takes us to Michigan and the Buick brand at a moment when General Motors was fighting to prove American engineering could still compete on durability, not just horsepower. The Buick LeSabre and its cousin, the Park Avenue, built through the 1990s and into the early 2000s, were powered by GM's 3800 Series 2V6 engine, a motor that Ward's Auto World magazine named to its list of the 10 best engines in the world multiple years in a row throughout the 1990s. The 3800 was not designed to be exciting. It was designed to survive neglect, and it did exactly that, routinely running past 250,000 miles with minimal intervention beyond oil changes, even when owners skipped basic maintenance for years at a time. Consumer Reports data from that era consistently placed the LeSabre among the most reliable full-size sedans in America, a fact that got almost no attention because Buick had already become associated in the public imagination with an older, less fashionable driver demographic. The stereotype stuck so firmly that younger buyers avoided the LeSabre entirely, even as it quietly outlasted flashier German and Japanese competitors that cost 3 times as much when new. Today, a well-kept LeSabre with the 3800 engine can be found for a few $1,000s, and mechanics who know the platform will tell you, often unprompted, that it is one of the most underrated used cars still on American roads. If a car built on this kind of quiet, unglamorous durability sounds like exactly the sort of thing worth knowing before your next car purchase, this is a good moment to like this video and drop a comment telling us which of these 5 surprised you the most, because that tells us what to dig into next. And if you have already made it this far, go ahead and subscribe now so you do not miss the rest of this list, because the next 2 cars are, in some ways, the strangest and most overlooked of them all. The 4th car is the Toyota Avalon, specifically the first and second generation models produced from 1995 through the early 2000s, a car that essentially existed in the shadow of its own sibling, the Toyota Camry. The Avalon shared much of its mechanical architecture with the Camry, including access to Toyota's legendarily durable 1MZ FE V6 engine, but it offered a larger body, a smoother ride, and a more comfortable cabin aimed at buyers who wanted something closer to a Lexus without the Lexus price tag. Because the Avalon was marketed primarily to older, more conservative buyers and never developed the cultural presence of the Camry or Corolla, it never became a target for younger used car shoppers, despite carrying nearly identical mechanical reliability. Long-term ownership data collected by Consumer Reports throughout the late 1990s and early 2000s repeatedly showed the Avalon among the top-rated vehicles for long-term dependability in its class, and it is common to find well-maintained examples still running smoothly past 250,000 miles today. Because the Avalon carries an image problem, seen by many as simply an old person's car, it depreciates faster than its mechanical reliability would justify, which means used examples from this era can often be purchased for a few $1,000s despite offering nearly the same engineering that Lexus buyers paid a significant premium for in the same years. The 5th and final car on this list is arguably the most overlooked of them all, because most people forget it existed in the first place. The Scion XB, sold from 2004 through 2015 under Toyota's short-lived youth-oriented Scion brand, was a boxy, unconventional-looking hatchback that never found the mainstream audience Toyota hoped for, largely because its unusual shape made it a difficult sell against more conventionally styled competitors. Underneath that awkward exterior, however, sat Toyota's proven 1NZ FE and later 2AZ FE engines, the same reliable power plants used across multiple Toyota and Scion models known for exceptional longevity with minimal mechanical intervention. Because the Scion brand itself was discontinued by Toyota in 2016 after struggling to build a loyal customer base, the XB inherited a kind of orphaned reputation, treated by many shoppers as a discontinued oddity rather than what it actually was, a Toyota-engineered vehicle built on the same reliability principles that made the Corolla and Camry famous worldwide. Owners who have kept their XB models maintained routinely report crossing 200,000 miles with only standard service, and because the car's unusual styling continues to suppress demand in the used market, prices remain remarkably low, often just a few $1,000s for a vehicle with tens of thousands of reliable miles still ahead of it. What connects all 5 of these vehicles is not chance. It is a pattern of engineering decisions made decades ago, decisions that prioritized long-term durability over short-term appeal, made by companies that in several cases sacrificed immediate sales success for a longer-lasting reputation with fleet buyers and hardcore mechanics who quietly knew the truth the general public never learned. Taxi drivers knew it about the Crown Victoria. Toyota's own engineers knew it about the LS400 before the public even understood what a Lexus was. Mechanics who worked on GM's full-size sedans knew it about the 3800 V6 long before Consumer Reports confirmed it in writing. This is the hidden history of the American used car market, a history where the most dependable machines were consistently the least desired, because durability rarely photographs well and almost never trends on social media. The next time you see one of these 5 cars sitting ignored in a used lot, priced at a fraction of what a flashier, less reliable vehicle would cost, you will understand exactly what you are looking at, and more importantly, exactly what everyone else walking past it is missing. If this changed the way you will look at a used car lot from now on, that is exactly the point of telling stories like this, and it means a lot if you take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the machines and decisions history tends to overlook, share this with anyone you know who is currently car shopping and might be about to overpay for something far less reliable, and leave a comment letting us know which of these 5 cars you had never heard of before today. That kind of feedback is exactly what shapes what we cover next, and there is a lot more of this hidden history still waiting to be uncovered.